I've searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You turn beauty to ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you.
Hello everybody, it's me, Miss Jody. I want to welcome you to Virtual VBS. Today we're going to talk about one of Jesus's feelings that he had while he was here on earth as a human. So Jesus came down to earth to not only die on the cross for us, but to go through life like we go through life, so that he could truly understand what it was like to be a person. What it was like to start off as a baby and grow up into a man and do a job and have friends and family and loved ones. And I want to talk to you today about sadness. That is one thing that Jesus did experience while he was on earth. A lot of you guys have had a time in your life where you have been sad about something. Maybe you were just a little bit sad and it made you frown. Maybe you were very, very sad and you cried like crazy. Sometimes that happens. Maybe you lost a good friend. Maybe a good friend moved away, or someone in your family passed away and went to heaven. But there's a lot of times that we have been very sad and we cry. And I want to tell you about one of those times that happened to Jesus. Jesus had some very good friends that he would often go and visit. The sisters' names were Mary and Martha, and their brother's name was Lazarus. Lazarus was a very good friend of Jesus, and while he was off traveling, Lazarus passed away. So somebody sent word to Jesus to let him know that Lazarus had passed away so that he could come to the funeral and pay respects to his sisters and be with them when they were grieving. So let me read a little bit of the story here. Jesus is getting into town, and Martha went out to meet him. And she actually said to him, and she was very upset. And sometimes when we're very upset, we say things that might not sound very nice. But Jesus understood. So, let me see, where was I here? When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. He'd been dead for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles away. Many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them about their brother. As soon as Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him. But Mary remained seated at the house. She stayed at home. Then Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. You could have healed him. But you weren't here. You were out doing something else." She was upset. She was so sad that she lost her brother. And she a little bit blamed Jesus. And sometimes we do that. We blame somebody even though it isn't their fault. Sometimes things just happen. But Jesus understood. And he said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." So Martha was a very, very strong believer, and she knew what Jesus was going to do. She knew that her brother was saved, that he was going to rise again and have eternal life like we have in heaven. And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Everyone who lives and believes in me will never die, ever." Do you believe this? "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who comes in the world." So Martha believed what Jesus was telling her. She knew that her brother was going to live eternally in heaven with Jesus, and that eventually she would too. She knew that. It still makes it very sad because she's not going to see him for a very long time. So she's having this conversation with Jesus, and finally Jesus says to her, "Go get your sister." So she went back and called to her sister Mary. "The teacher is here and calling for you. Jesus wants to talk to you, Mary. You got to get out here. Come quick." So as soon as she heard this, she got up and quickly went out to him. Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in a place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house consoling her saw that Mary got up quickly and went out. So they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to cry. When Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and told him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Mary's saying the same thing. She's so upset. She wanted Jesus to be there, if he could just have been there. So Jesus saw her crying, and the Jews who had come with her were crying. He was angry in his spirit, and he was deeply moved. He was actually upset with himself. He's like, "I should have been here. I should have been here. If I had just been here, none of this would have happened." And he was kind of upset with himself. That happens to us too, right? When we're really sad, we get mad at ourselves because maybe there was something we just could have done to make things different. And this is one of my favorite things. It says, "Where have you put him?" he asked. "Lord," they told him, "come and see." Jesus wept. Jesus wept. Jesus cried. He cried. Just like you and I cry. Jesus actually cried because he saw that his dear friends, Mary and Martha, were grieving over their brother. His friend had died and he wasn't there. He wasn't there with him. He wasn't there to heal him. He wasn't there to be with him when he wasn't feeling good, to comfort him. He missed out. And here now his friend was dead and he was so sad. Jesus actually cried. He was so sad. So now what? Jesus is very sad, but he says, your brother will rise again. Well, we know he's going to be there in the resurrection, right? Maybe. Let's read on. So, the Jews said, "So, he loved him." But some of them said, "Couldn't he who opened the blind man's eyes also have kept him from dying?" So now the people around him are saying, "All right, Jesus, you probably could have done a little bit more." Jesus is really upset. He's probably thinking, yes, I could have done a little bit more. So on to the next part here. This is where it gets really good. So Jesus is like, "All right, guys, move the stone. Move the stone. That stone right there, that big stone. Get it out of here. Move it out of the way. I am going in." So Martha says to him, she's like, "It's been 4 days. 4 days. Do you know that is a really, really long time? It's kind of hot here in this area, and he's been dead for 4 days. Yeah, wrapped up in a tomb, dead. 4 days. Yuck. It's probably gonna smell a little bit in there." Jesus is, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Move the stone." Okay. So they moved the stone out of the way, and Jesus raised his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me. But because of the crowd standing here, I said this, so they may believe you sent me." After he said this, he shouted with a loud voice. He said, "Lazarus, come out! Lazarus, come out of the tomb! Get out, man! You're like, come on, get out!" Everybody's standing around, and what happens? What happens? Yeah, Lazarus, he's all wrapped up in the fabric stuff that they put around him. He kind of looked like a mummy because he was all wrapped up in all those cloths. He walked out. That's so cool. He walked right out of that tomb. So Jesus raised his very good friend from the dead, and everybody got to see. So even though Jesus was very, very sad and he knows how we feel, he can also help us feel happy. He helped Mary and Martha. Now, he may not bring everybody back from the dead, but he can help us get through our sadness. He can help us when we're very, very sad. We just pray to him and ask Jesus, give me peace. Give me a feeling of happiness and help me remember the very good times that I had before my friend had to move away, or before my school got closed down for the year, or before my baseball season was shut down for the year and canceled. Let's remember all the happy and fun times we had, and let's think about all of the fun times that we've got ahead of us. So, Lazarus, dead? Now he was walking around alive because Jesus said so. All right, so now we're going to get on to the fun part, the craft. I love the craft. Yay! So, today we are going to do a secret message. Just like Lazarus was in a tomb and all by himself, and he just came out and showed himself, we are going to do that with our secret message. We are going to make it show itself. So what you need is a white piece of paper. Da-da-da-da. Plain old copy paper will do just fine. A white crayon. Got it? White paper, white crayon. What happens when we write on white paper with a white crayon? And I promise you, I wrote on white paper with a white crayon. I actually wrote on this. Nothing there, right? Can you see it? No, you can't see it. So the next thing you need are these little watercolors. You can get these at the dollar store, at Walmart, or any place. They're really cheap. Paintbrush. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, it tickles my nose. All right. And water. Water. Whoops. Yeah. It's kind of wet. So that one might not work so well. Anyway, you guys who know me know that I always make messes. So what you need to do is write your message on your paper with your white crayon. So write any message that you want to write. And then you guys know how to use watercolors, right? You dip the paintbrush in the water, get it nice and wet. And then the best thing to do, I'm going to say, is probably to use a darker color. I'm going to pick blue because blue is my favorite color. Use a darker color, get it nice and wet. And then you're going to paint over top of your message. This is so much fun. All right, I did this one. It's going to be a little hard to see. I hope you guys can see it. I'm going to hold it up here. It's hard to see on camera. But it says smile. It's a whole lot easier to see here in front of you, I promise. When you guys do this, it will be a lot easier to see. The cameras are really weird and all the lighting is kind of funky, so it's not the greatest. Let's see what this one says that I dumped water on. See if I can get that one to show up a little bit better. So I'm going to paint this. It's going to be so pretty. And actually, the darker you paint it or the less water you use, the darker it'll be. And where's the rest of my message? I don't know where my message is because I wrote it a little bit ago before I did the video. So I don't actually know. But the message is here, and I will show it to you in just a minute as soon as I get it all revealed to you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit better. A little bit more water, a little bit more paint. Yeah, there it is. My message is turning out just beautifully. All right, there it is. So, my message to you, if you can read it very well, I'm not sure. You can read it a little bit. There you go. See? Remember, read it back here. It says, you have turned for me my mourning into dancing. Psalm 30:11. The 30:11 didn't come out because I didn't paint it. That was silly. Let's try it again. There. Now it's there. Psalm 30:11. So that's how you can write secret messages to your friends. You can write a message on a piece of paper and mail it to them and then call them up and say, hey guys, you're going to get a secret message in the mail. All you need is some watercolors and a paintbrush. Paint a dark watercolor over top and you'll find out what I want to say to you. You can make secret codes and messages and it'll be so much fun. And always remember that just because you can't necessarily see it doesn't mean that it's not there. Just like God, just because Jesus wasn't there when Lazarus died doesn't mean that he didn't show up and make things visible and make things plain to see that we have Jesus in our lives. Isn't that awesome? So that was your memory verse for today. If you didn't figure it out, you have turned for me my mourning into dancing. Psalms 30:11. That means you made things that were really sad, really happy. How cool is that? And actually, if you look into that verse, I want you guys to research. Look where that verse was in the Bible and see if you can figure out when that happened, because I bet you'll like that story too. All right, so I hope you really enjoyed this. And remember that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. So I hope you guys had a great time. I will see you Thursday. So Tuesday and Wednesday, you have some other special people that are going to talk to you. So I can't wait. Bye.